Hey guys, it's Reed at the Camera Co-op today, and I'm showing you this 50mm 1.4 Sigma lens on a Canon 60D. I'm pretty excited about this. It's supposed to be a really sharp lens, even more sharp than some of the Canons you see out there at 1.4, and especially the 1.8 that's so popular among Canon and Nikon users alike. So if you're really looking for the next level, this is kind of what it's going to be at. So I've shot some test footage around the store here, and let's see how it turned out. Leave your comments below on if you like it or not, and if this is your first time here at Life in Frame, please take a little time and subscribe and give me a thumbs up too. It helps me out a lot. Appreciate you.
The one in the bag?
I think it's the one in the bag, yeah. I think.
Alright.
I already ate one.
Okay, cool.
I opened it and I looked at it and it was like, this looks like chorizo.
Okay, cool. Did you get chorizo or did you get
I got
sausage?
sausage. And I put my fingers in it a little bit.
Thanks for that. Yeah, that's awesome.
I had to
Just kind of touched it a little bit.
Well, I had to. I can usually tell by the texture.
I didn't think I would, but I've seen it up.
It will come up.
It's a ship.
They'll take the takeout.
You know, it kind of looks like the opening for James Bond. It's the opening for James Bond. Alright guys, well I'm here with Erwin, and he knows a lot about camera lenses, a lot more than I do, and I wanted to ask him about the 50s and some of his experiences with these different types of lenses. One of the questions I was going to start with, Erwin, was why would somebody upgrade to a $500 lens when you can get a good 50mm 1.8 for only $134.99? So what's the differences?
Well, both lenses are outstanding, but for different purposes, right? The 50mm 1.8 is one that I use personally myself because I bought it many years ago. And this lens, when it stopped down to f8, is the sharpest lens on planet Earth.
Really?
It is incredible,
Okay.
right? Now, 1.8 is still decent. It's good, right? But other lenses like the 50mm 1.4 from Sigma, or the 50mm 1.4 from Canon, or the 50mm 1.4 from Nikon are outstanding also, but they're different, right?
Okay.
These lenses are optimized to be sharp while shooting at, you know, bigger apertures like f2, 2.8, right? They're going to be sharper than comparative sharpness I would get from the 50mm 1.8 at f2.
Now is that going to be noticeable just looking at a regular print size like 4x5, or am I have to really zoom in to see the
I think
difference?
you're going to have to like really look closely because the differences between the lenses isn't as great as the differences between the photographers. So a photographer with sloppy, you know, photography, moving the camera, stuff like that, is not going to get such a great image.
Okay,
Out
but
of
if all
any of
things
these
are
lenses,
equal, they're
right.
on tripods
Right.
and whatnot, there's
Right.
going to be a difference still then.
Right, because the 1.4, the glass is big, right? And so there's a lot of energy coming into here, right? And the bigger that energy has to spread around and stuff, the more it wants to bounce around. So it takes a considerably more technology to make this a really sharp lens. That's one of the reasons why it's so much more expensive than this one, right? 51.8s are generally like $100 in general, right?
Pull this out and let's just show the difference here.
Right. So,
So this
right. Also,
versus that, wow, there's a big difference.
right. You see how big that is, right? And like this one here is even bigger than the Canon 50mm 1.4.
Okay.
Right? Which is it was designed during basically the film era. Right. Now, when it comes to designing digital, because sensors need light rays that hit them concentratedly straight on, like at a perpendicular point to the sensor and stuff, it's better to make the lens bigger.
Okay. Makes
So
more
the
sense.
sweet spot is bigger, right? So now I've got a sharper center, right? And so that's part of, like, this lens was designed during the digital age, right?
Right.
Many of the 50mm designs were designed back in the 1920s, 1911, and stuff like that, right?
When they're using film.
Right. When they were using film and they
Right.
were designed by hand, trial and error, right? And they did a fantastic job. You know, Carl Zeiss, many companies made some outstanding 50mm lens. Everyone that's out here today is a descendant of those designs.
Okay. Except for
so this
these
one
guys.
here is a brand new design.
Right.
Right. It's designed with the aid of computers and stuff, right?
Okay.
And so it has certain advantages over the others, right?
So that's what makes really this so much better than one of these from the film era.
When you're trying to shoot wide open.
Okay.
Right. If I'm shooting at f8, this is probably a sharper lens.
Okay.
Right. But it doesn't cost a whole lot of money to make a lens sharp at f8.
All right. So overall, Erwin, would you say that the Sigma is worth paying the extra almost $400 for versus this 51.8?
I think that's a tough question to ask. You know, I think ultimately it comes down to what you can afford. You know, I've worked with cheap stuff, the most expensive stuff, and I've gotten fantastic pictures either way. You know, I've also got lousy pictures either way, because the difference between the lenses, I think, is not quite as great as the way I use the lens. You know, if I'm a really good photographer, I'm going to think about what the limitations of each particular lens I use, right? And I'm also going to think about the advantages they give me, right? So it's going to form the kind of picture, right, that I'm going to use. With a little experience, I'll know, that's not the kind of shot I want to try and take with that, right? However, in general, I get more options with the more expensive lens. The technology in this is just gorgeous, you know. Just like we like a Porsche or a Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to like it simply because of that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
It's a speedy, sporty lens.
Thing,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Okay.
right. You know, maybe we don't need to go 300 miles on the freeway, you know, but we like to have
But
the
if you
power.
can, yeah,
Right.
it's a nice option.
It's a nice option to have, right, right. This lens is the newest technology in lens design. It's computer-aided, you know, design, and this
optimized for digital.
And optimized for digital, right? Which also refers to the kind of coatings that it has, right?
Okay.
So if I had two identical lenses made, one back during the film era, one during the digital age, when I look at the contrast of the digital one, it's a little higher.
Okay.
Because they have to fight harder the reflections that come back from the sensor coming back into the lens, right? And so they have more aggressive coatings on them generally, right?
Okay.
Which then makes the image look a little sharper. Scientifically, it's not sharper, but it looks so because the contrast.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
It's a little snappier look to it.
That's
Right.
cool. You're teaching me stuff here.
Right. Okay.
Thanks for your time, Erwin.
Sure.
This is very informative, and I'm
Okay.
sure everybody's going to like hearing what you have to say.
Okay. Well, they'll probably say I'm full of crap, but that's fine.
That's just human nature.
That's right.
Speaking. People are always going to say that.
Right.
When deciding if the Sigma 1.4 is the right lens for you, I think it's important to ask yourself, how are you going to be using this lens? Is this going to be something you're shooting casually and showing off to friends on your iPad? Or is this something for more professional work like videography or portraiture or showing off your artwork? I think if you're going to be using this in a professional sense, you should unquestionably make the extra investment and go with the Sigma 1.4. You're going to have a better build quality lens with optics that are specifically tailored to a digital camera, and that will make a big difference, along with just having better low light capacity and better bokeh. So come on in to your local camera shop. If you're here in Houston, we'd appreciate a visit here at the Camera Co-op. And thank you once again for checking out my videos. Come back again soon for more camera and lens reviews.